Good-looking run for the Black Stallion. As the upstart takes on some of the biggest names in the sport, he looks like he's posted an excellent qualifying time. On the replay, you can see very smooth, a nice shot from Michael Waters and the Black Stallion, and a very competitive qualifying time at 2.60 for the Black Stallion Ford. Well, here's one they all know they have to beat anywhere they go in the country, and they see the Taurus GMC pulling up alongside. Jackie Willman out of Granite City, Illinois, ready to do battle. Did not look like a real good run, and to be perfectly blunt, it didn't sound real good. I don't know if there's some problems with Taurus, but he did not sound sharp. And indeed, the time is a little slower than the other top trucks at 2.68. So Taurus is safely qualified into the first round, but he'll be toward the bottom of the bracket. Next up is going to be Gary Porter's Carolina Crusher, another Chevrolet, and this is another one of the state-of-the-art trucks with a cantilever suspension, and you'll notice the way each wheel seems to react individually, and it takes a lot of the stress, a lot of the bumps out, so the driver has a much smoother ride. Outstanding shot for Gary Porter's Carolina Crusher. On the replay, you can see he had a whole lot of power coming out of the hole. Doesn't get too much air, just enough to get it rolling, and he is the new fast qualifier. The Carolina Crusher at 2.31 seconds has knocked Barefoot down to number 2. Our final qualifier is a big bad Ford out of Woodstock, Illinois. Rob Bush and First Blood. Rob doesn't sound real good either at the starting line, but that may just be a psych job as he's ready to hit it hard. Didn't sound good at the starting line, but looked pretty good as he went over the cars. Rob Bush of the First Blood Ford. Here he goes up the ramp, launches over the cars, and it's a good run at 2.57. Interesting, that's the exact same time that the Bigfoot Ford had a little bit earlier. So the Ford's locking it in, but it's a Chevy on top. The Carolina Crusher Chevrolet, the fast qualifier, at 2.31. The Barefoot Chevrolet, 2.34. The Gravedigger Chevy at 2.41, and then the Fords are coming after him. Monster trucks about to go side by side in competition now. This is elimination competition. One will move on, one will go home in each matchup. The Carolina Crusher Chevy takes on the First Blood Ford. Then the Gravedigger Chevy against the GMC of Taurus. The bottom half of the bracket, the Bigfoot Ford, the Jersey Outlaw Ford, then the Barefoot Chevrolet against the Black Stallion Ford. That's how they match up. And right off the bat, we'll see our fast qualifier, Gary Porter out of Wadesboro, North Carolina, the Carolina Crusher Chevrolet against Rob Bush and the First Blood Ford out of Woodstock, Illinois. Give it to the Chevy cam. A close race, but Gary Porter pulls it out in the Carolina Crusher Chevrolet, knocking off the First Blood Ford and the consistent running Rob Bush. On the replay, we look at the isolated camera on Gary Porter's Carolina Crusher. A nice launch off the ramp. Good shape all the way through. An excellent run, and he needed it to knock off First Blood. Carolina Crusher gets the victory. Well, you talk about a main event matchup anywhere in the country. You see U.S. Hot Rod Monster Trucks. You have it right here. And indeed, this matchup has been a final in a lot of places. The Gravedigger against Taurus. Certainly two of the real marquee names in the sport today, and they have to go at it in the first round here at Uniondale. Dennis Anderson's Gravedigger, Kill Devil Hills, North Carolina. Jackie Willman's Taurus, Granite City, Illinois. Dennis Anderson and the Gravedigger advancing into the second round of competition. And in qualifying, I mentioned Taurus did not sound well at all, and you can see indeed Jackie Willman has a truck that's in trouble. On the replay, Gravedigger with a nice shot, getting up the launch ramp in good shape, and a good solid run for the Gravedigger. Two Fords are ready to go at it now. It's the Outlaw in the far lane out of Pensacola, New Jersey. That's Nick Rossi. And closest to you, the original monster truck family, the Bigfoot Gang out of St. Louis, Missouri. This is Jim Kramer in the state-of-the-art Bigfoot number 9. Rossi pulls Outlaw to the staging lane. As soon as he is set, they'll look for a green and get ready to get it on. Bigfoot, by about a truck length, records the victory, and Jim Kramer will move into the second round of competition. Once again, the isolated replay puts you right on Bigfoot, and here he comes into your home. Jim Kramer takes the victory. Boy, got into a little bit of the mud lane in the center, but otherwise in pretty good shape for the Bigfoot Ford. Well, there's another Ford, Black Stallion, Michael Vodders, and the Black Stallion Ford will have the dubious honor of taking on the defending champion of the world, Fred Schaefer, and the Barefoot Chevrolet out of Pontoon Beach, Illinois. They pull away the banners that lined them up, and they're ready to go. Black Stallion certainly competitive, but not enough to handle the champ as Freddie Schaefer puts Barefoot into the next round. The replay on the Barefoot Chevrolet will show you basically a picture-perfect run. Right up the ramp in good shape, wheels straight, hitting the cars hard, and on to victory for Fred Schaefer and the Barefoot Chevrolet. So we're down to a final four after Carolina Crusher dispatches First Blood, Gravedigger beats Taurus. The bottom half of the bracket saw Bigfoot take out Jersey Outlaw, and Barefoot has eliminated the Black Stallion. Scott Douglas with you again on Super Trax, and the Monster Truck Superstars are ready for the semifinal round, the final four at the Nassau Coliseum on Long Island in New York. And here's the way it'll happen. Gravedigger against Carolina Crusher, and Barefoot against Bigfoot. What a semifinal round we're going to have. The two Chevrolets, Gravedigger and Crusher, looking for the green light. Man, oh man, was that too close to call. The Carolina Crusher Chevrolet of Gary Porter. Let's look at Gary Porter on the isolated replay. The Wadesboro, North Carolina-based Chevrolet looking good against his arch rival, also from North Carolina, Dennis Anderson out of Kill Devil Hills, and the Gravedigger. Let's look at the way the Digger took it out on the isolated replay, and we're understanding now that the U.S. Hot Rod officials have reviewed the tape, and indeed, the win will go to Gary Porter and the Carolina Crusher. So a good run for Gravedigger, but not quite enough as the Digger goes down to defeat in the Nassau Coliseum. Brett Kepner standing by with both Gary Porter and Dennis Anderson.
Did you have any idea of the finish line?
No, I had no idea who won at the finish line. I just had my fingers crossed that I did win.
How about you, Dennis? You had to know that you had to feel at least maybe you left with him or ahead of him.
Yeah, well, I felt like I cut a pretty good light, but Gary's been running all night, running good all night, and I figured if I had to lose, I'd rather lose to a boy from Carolina than somebody from Missouri.
Now the big battle, you and Barefoot, the defending world champ. Anything you can do there that you think might give you an advantage?
I'm just going to have to cut a real close light, and hopefully the right lane will give me enough advantage to take the win.
And you know Fred Schaefer will run over you if he has to.
He will, Fred. It's going to be very tough, and it's going to be a close race.
Porter getting ready for Fred Schaefer, but Fred's got a little more business to take care of. First, Barefoot must defeat Bigfoot to make it into the finals against Gary Porter and the Carolina Crusher, and Jim Kramer hopes to have a whole lot to say about who's going to the championship matchup. It's Barefoot and Bigfoot. And an impressive victory for Fred Schaefer and the Barefoot Chevrolet. Here he is out of Pontoon Beach, Illinois, really dispatching Bigfoot fairly easily on this course in the Nassau Coliseum. Schaefer, the world champion, gets a victory over the original monster truck, the Bigfoot Ford. Here we have Bigfoot on the ISO. Jim Kramer seemed to hit things fine. Barefoot just got the best of him on this day in New York. So it's Barefoot and Carolina Crusher to determine the championship of the Nassau Coliseum in U.S. Hot Rod Association monster truck action. Crusher, a winner over Gravedigger, and Barefoot takes out Bigfoot. The finals coming up a little bit later, but next, one of the world's most daring stuntmen here on Super Trax. You're looking at Brian Carson, considered one of the world's premier daredevils and stuntmen. And here on Super Trax, you will see one of his most dangerous stunts, as he will take that car he's about to climb into, drive up a ramp, go through a pair of explosions, and then T-bone the car into a set of parked cars on the other end of the ramp. Brian Carson has been wrecking cars and pulling off stunts for a long, long time. As a matter of fact, he has destroyed over 1,850 vehicles in his stage jumps and crashes. That's a record mark for most cars wrecked in a stunt career. Carson, in the process, has fractured over 50 bones in his body. As he comes out now, normally his first shot will be just to look at the ramp. Indeed, he's on the brakes, and he's going to pull up just to take a look. There aren't too many bones in the old body that Carson hasn't broken, and he'd like to get out of this one unscathed. But it is one of the more dangerous crashes that Brian Carson performs anywhere in the world, and he has a record for going all over the country and all over the world and trying to go a little bit further and make it a little bit more dangerous every time. Certainly this stunt will rank up there with the greats. And what makes this one so tough, as you watch it, is that he'll go through two huge explosions and then T-bone the car into the parked cars at the other end. The crowd awaits the appearance of Brian Carson, and here he comes. Absolutely awesome stunt. The question is Brian okay? The car is raging inferno at this point, and Carson is coming out. He just finds a way to get out and will now just roll away from the fire as the crew will come over to see if Brian is okay. Man, oh man, what an incredible explosion. The force of the explosion actually caught the car on fire in midair. I think that is why he caught on fire. I don't think it was the impact of the wreck. I think it was the explosion. Let's watch again. You can see the car is already smoking. But he still gets enough momentum there through the first explosion. And indeed, that's what caught him on fire. The first explosion actually caught Carson's car on fire. And so by the time it settled back down, Brian, who obviously did not lose consciousness, had to find one way out. And he did. Let's watch it again. Man. Here it is from the end zone, if you will. What a fireball. And now you can see the car is completely engulfed in flames. The engine compartment is burning. Apparently the wheels have caught fire. And Carson just says, let me out of here. Another angle on Brian Carson soaring through the fire and landing the hard way at the other end, T-boning. Look at the impact at the end. Straight up and down, and then the car settles back down on its wheels. Carson able to get out before the fire gets inside the compartment. And now the only question is Brian okay? Because he certainly took a whale of a lick at the end of that stunt. The incredible Brian Carson has done it again. I guess that makes car number 1,851, and he's okay. There he is. Brian waving to acknowledge the cheers of the crowd. And you know what's amazing? Is he just going to put on the suit, rack it up, and find another arena to try and do something even wilder in again when you see Brian Carson coming in with the U.S. Hot Rod Association, ladies and gentlemen. Get your tickets quick. Only Super Trax can pack this much excitement in 1 hour, because we still have to determine our monster truck champion from the Nassau Coliseum. And it will be two of the heavyweights in the sport, two of the best-known trucks in the world, two of the most talented drivers and most awesome machines. It's the defending world champion, Fred Schaefer, and the Barefoot Chevrolet from Pontoon Beach, Illinois. And the good old boy from Wadesboro, North Carolina, Gary Porter, and the Carolina Crusher Chevrolet. Only one walks out of New York as the champion of the Nassau Coliseum. Will it be the Crusher, or will it be Barefoot? We're just a moment from finding out. Earlier in the semifinals, Crusher had to put away the Gravedigger to get here. Barefoot had to knock off Bigfoot. Both were up to the challenge. But there's one more challenge to go, one more battle to be fought. The final at Uniondale, New York in the Nassau Coliseum. Fred Schaefer getting barefoot staged. Now Gary Porter will bring the Carolina Crusher to the starting line. And once they're both there, we're going to get it on for all the marbles in New York. Gary Porter now rolls up to that start line. And we're about to see who can come out of here with the victory. It's the Carolina Crusher and barefoot to determine the champion in New York. Here we go. I do not know who got the win. It's too close to call. Carolina Crusher and barefoot cross the finish line together. The isolated replay. Fred Schaefer's barefoot Chevrolet. Boy, he looked solid, smooth all the way through. But Gary Porter was equal to the challenge. Look at Porter. Again, a perfect launch off the ramp. Let's see, I believe we have a camera angle right at the finish. This is the tape the U.S. Hot Rod Association officials will look at to determine the winner. As they go flying through the air at the finish line, the U.S. Hot Rod officials are telling us the winner, the barefoot Chevrolet, by an inch.
Another situation where it took a replay to determine it. It was that close.
I was really worried about it, Brett. That lane over there is a little bit soft, and I'm really surprised, to be honest with you.
I'll be honest with you. Throughout the season, we've seen a lot of come from behind in the air races. We've seen a lot of hole shots. This one looked as dead even as it could throughout the whole race. We'll have to look at it again. How did it feel inside the truck? What went through your mind?
Well, I tried to move over, and I know I was going to get too much air, but I tried to get out of everybody else's tracks because they had the ground tore up so bad, and that's why the truck got so much air, but I took a chance again that and spinning, and I think it paid off.
Sure did, because if it was a win by a foot, it was a win by an inch. No question about it.
Thank you very much, Brett.
This is what it's going to take to come back in that World Championship, too.
That's right, it is. Thank you, Brett.
Congratulations, guys.
Indeed, the difference was only an inch, and that's why he's the world champion. He found a way to come up with that extra inch. Fred Schaefer and the barefoot Chevrolet winning it all at the Nassau Coliseum in Uniondale, New York. More action is coming at you next week here on Super Trax.